private developer on West Edmonds. This is at 324. You see the before picture, the after picture. This is about a 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that recently sold for $215,000. So back to the vacant lien-laden lots overview. How can code enforcement and mass foreclosure be utilized to try to effect change and major transformation in the neighborhoods? Our office has been working in conjunction with Troy and trying to come up with looking at lots that have exorbitant amounts of liens. The city's finance department, Melissa's been very helpful in this process as well. So we're looking at the criteria listed in front of you. Properties that are vacant, liens that have amounts over $5,000, minimum square footage of 3,000, making sure the property is not in the floodplain so it's easier to develop, and that it has street frontage. We looked at all of those lots. We identified several, and then we also looked at lots that were adjacent to those lots that might not meet all of that criteria, but it's still a vacant lot, and if it were consolidated with an adjoining property, then it might be more attractive to a developer. We sorted that based on batches, tier 1 through 5. Tier 1 would be the most attractive. It would have a recent deed that we could track down property owners. As you go through the tier system, tier 3 to 5, you're probably not going to be able to find a deed because it's heir property, and those are the least attractive. I think Doug can probably verify that tracking down those deeds can be quite difficult. So once we get that list compiled, we're going to share it back with the finance department, let them comb through it, make sure that the lien amounts are correct and that there are no properties that are associated with the lot next door program. And then we think we'll be ready to turn them over for another, what we're saying, mass foreclosure, but it would be the city being able to foreclose on properties that are more attractive for development. So that would be the pilot program. If this body decides that is direction that you want to take, and if the Land Bank Authority is authorized to take that action. So the next steps. Land Bank Authority held a retreat earlier this month, actually. We spent a couple of hours combing through this report and going into some more detail regarding the recommendations of the Center for Community Progress. They are prioritizing those recommendations so that we can do a sliding scale and determine what was most important to them, and then assign a dollar figure to what it would take for us to be able to implement that. So the piloting of the mass foreclosure project is something that we think is important, and it's something that they're looking at. But again, it is going to require staff capacity and funding. Center for Community Progress recommended that at least one full-time equivalent be hired to serve as the director of the Land Bank Authority. Currently, several staff members at CDS serve as staff to the Land Bank Authority. That does not include the Lot Next Door program, because that is a separate program operated under the city's finance department. And the Center for Community Progress said that we may also want to consider at least a half-time or a three-quarter-time community engagement person to assist with making these deals and bringing developers together and understanding how properties can be developed. So I'm going to quote Troy one more time. I got his permission. This is a new way of doing business in Hopkinsville. That concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, or I will try to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Holly? Yes, sir.
So I asked Troy some questions this afternoon, and it goes back to your nothing's free slide. And my two questions were, if we take a lot and we go through this entire process, what's the dollar of that? And the second question was, if we had a lot with a home on it that's in shambles or whatever, and it goes through. Now, Troy shared a lot of numbers with me. And I guess what I want council to understand, and let you all answer the question, but it's costing us anyway.
Right.
And it would be good to hear those numbers. I mean, they were pretty significant per lot was what I was trying to get it down to. So you, Troy.
But Doug has quoted about $3,500 for the process if it's a vacant lot. Now, if there's a demo, and of course that can be 6 to 10 or more, depending on the property. But as he said, we don't really have a choice. I mean, you do have a choice. I'm not going to say you don't.
Right.
We can come back in several years and say you've got 1,500 vacant lots, and instead of $13 million in liens, 17.
Right.
Because we're really just wasting code enforcement's time tagging properties over and over, doing the find and file where you hit them and then put it in a file. And the public knows it. So that's why they walk away from it, because this city has done nothing. That's why the guy was here yelling at my colleague today, because now he's feeling a little heat. As I explained to the mayor, those are going to be more frequent. They're going to keep coming because now they realize
They're pretty frequent.
something's changed. Something has changed. And we needed to change more. It's time to turn the screws. You can't walk away from this town and leave a vacant factory or a house or several vacant lots. It's robbing their neighbors, mostly your working class and lower income. It's stealing the values of their property. It raises crime, it raises indifference, apathy, and you lose population. So you can do nothing, but there's a cost to it. And so it won't be cheap, it won't be easy. I really just don't think we have a choice. So you will see it reflected in the mayor's budget under that umbrella of growing home as we come for these neighborhoods, and it's win-win. The only people who are going to be screaming are the people in violations, and I'm going to tell you guys, they will be screaming. They will come, and they're going to call you. And this is where we need even more than money from you is I need will. I need backbone. Don't give an inch, because I'm not. They don't care, so we don't care. Things are going to change now.
And on what Troy just said right there, we are done sending out, Melissa and Lauren are sending out these past liens and fines. And some of them are from 8 years ago, 9 years ago. We're getting flack for that, but we are going to collect this money. You know, they knew they had it when they left this code enforcement board, when they signed that piece of paper. They knew they owed it. I cannot help that it didn't get done before. But this administration is going to send out every one of them $13 million worth of money, folks. If we can collect some of that, it will help us on our budget.
And to be fair, you will never see $13 million.
No.
So I don't want to give you that impression. Just getting this stuff off the books, getting it off Mike's books, stormwater, Land Bank has grass cutting contract. Just the $200,000 a year alone in cutting grass.
Yeah.
And then it'll rain this weekend. It looks like we haven't done anything. It's just the biggest waste of money.
Right.
And the indifference. It's a community worth its salt. It's going to send a message. You don't walk away from this town without consequence.
Any other questions? Anybody? Nope. All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank
And
you.
as always, if you have any questions later, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Appreciate your time.
All right, item E, quarterly business list review. The business list is included in your packet. Does anybody see any changes that need to be made to the business list? Hearing none, we'll go to item F, monthly agency board council appointee report. Call on Councilmember Crabtree.
So basically, I'm on 4 additional boards or committees. I'm on solid waste, future funding, weather spotters, and economic development. Solid waste has done a lot of things the past year, but really want to shout out to Brian and his team for all their hard work after the flooding. Future funding, we will be getting into that once again. I know we've got some direction that the mayor wants to work with us. The next one is the weather spotters. David Powell and his team and the weather spotters do an outstanding job. And I noticed during the flooding, I saw the mayor and the fire chief and all utilizing those folks to get the word out. And I think in the past year, I've seen a unique partnership being forming, a unique synergy, and it benefits the people that live here in the city and county. It benefits, all of us. And those guys really do a good job. Just kudos to them. And economic development, we're still working, a lot of work to do there. So.
All right, thank you. We'll move to item 6, 6A, or unfinished business, I'm sorry. At this time, we have no unfinished business, so we will go straight into number 7, new business. Item A, Emergency Communications Center interlocal agreement, and at this time, that is not ready, so we're going to defer this item to a future meeting. Item B, restructuring of Small Business Commission, and turn it over to Mr. Willen.
Okay, well, you just heard from the Small Business Commission. If you look on page 64, I was just asked to make some tweaks to the existing ordinance to reduce the size from existing 13, which has been found to be too large and not working, to reduce that number to 7. So it'd be a simple fix to reduce that number in the ordinance. What I just heard, though, was a suggestion that it be phased in. I'm going to have to look at that, because if we phase it in, you could have quorum problems with the vacancy. So the way that, okay, so what I'm hearing is we're going to go to just.
We will have a quorum problem if we go phasing it in like that.
Right, that was going to be problematic. So the way we have it structured here would be taking new members. It would be by the mayor's executive order to reappoint members, and you'd only have 7 instead of 13. And then you've got the terms there, 4 years, 3 years, and 2 years, just like we did when it was originally established. The quorum then would be reduced from 7 to 4, which hopefully would take care of the problem that they're having. So what we would need would just be a motion to forward this on to council, and we will have this then in ordinance amendment format for you at that time.
I make a motion to forward this to council as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that'll be forwarded to council. Item C, Second Street Park renaming as Fred Atkins Park. We're going to turn this over to the mayor and Mr. Mike Perry.
Go ahead.
All right, I think it's gonna be me.
This is you.
Well, I'll stand.
No, he's good.
He's got your
You're
back.
Mike's no, well, what this is we are not doing Fred Atkins or his family any justice over here on Main Street with this pocket park that we got locked up because all we do is clean whiskey bottles and drug needles out of it every day. Vodka bottles or needles, everything like, or cleaning up where people don't know how to go use the bathroom somewhere besides just walk in there and drop some pants. And it's just blunt way to put it. I'm sorry. But, you know, we're not doing Mr. Atkins and his family any justice and accreditation. That man sat there in that seat over here in Ward 2. And I believe we ought to change it and move it to Ward 2.
I agree. This has been an idea that I've had for Ward 1, by the way. but,
Ward 1,
This is an idea I've had for a couple of years that, with, you know, of course, if you knew Fred, Fred was a great guy.
Yeah, you will.
I got joy to work with Fred for about 8 years as on city council. Fred only lived about a block over from Second Street Park on the new Second Street Park. And I think it's perfect to name it after Fred. And we already talked to Miss Atkins, and she is very receptive to the idea. And I think it'll do that park justice, and I think it's honor of Fred just to do that. And of course, you know, we renamed the community center there, the building there, after Kenneth A. Bates. But the park itself is just called Second Street Park. So we would really like to rename that after Fred Atkins and move from downtown over there where it actually belongs.
All right. Anybody have any questions here?
What's the plan for the one downtown then?
We are going to look into surplusing it. I can tell you right now. There's no sense in us owning something we cannot use.
My fear is what becomes of it when we do
No.
that.
I have that
My
same
fear is
fear.
what becomes, I agree with it.
Who
I'm gonna
purchased
vote
it?
to
Oh, that's
move the
my
second.
fear too. That's
My
the reason
fear is
I've got
what-
it locked up right now.
I know, my fear is what becomes of
If
it.
we sell it, we lose control, and
Well, that's what we're trying
that's
to,
my fear.
we're gonna talk to realtors, we're gonna talk to the property owners around it, because some of them say they'd like to, might put a restaurant and make it, and leave it chained up and use it, cut a door in the side of the building on the other side over there.
We can talk more about it then. I just want
Right,
to
right.
make sure that
No,
that's
we're
not,
just-
this is not part of this tonight.
No, it's not part of this night, no, sir.
Gotcha, thank you.
All right, any other questions? If the committee is in favor, we need to forward this to council in the form of a municipal order. Need a motion?
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that
Thank you.
passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, council.
Item D, Transportation Alternative Program Grant. And it looks like Melissa's going to talk about this.
It's me, not Gary.
Hi.
So we would like to apply for the TAP grant. The Transportation Alternatives Program is the same grant that we've applied for the last two phases of the rail trail. This is for the third phase of the rail trail. I understand it's a big match. We did apply for this grant last year, which we did not receive. So if we were to receive it, we would have to make plans. Obviously, I don't have this much money sitting around to pay the match right now. If we were to receive this grant, we would have to make some plans at that time. But we would like to apply for the grant, and we need your approval on the match to apply for it.
Is there a dollar amount? You know what you're applying for?
It's on page 68.
68. Oh, 6.9. Okay. That's a significant match.
It's
And
a
what
sig-
exactly is this to do? What to,
To put us a bridge over
okay, that's what I was saying.
bypass.
Yeah,
To put us into tiebreaker to finish.
To run
To-
the trail
to-
on.
yes,
So
to-
the bridge, it would be a bridge over the
Yes,
bypass. Okay.
according to,
I know years ago, it was talked about going under it.
no, they said we
Okay.
can't do that no more, and the fine example was the water, and they were afraid somebody would get swept away, and they give me all them reasons. Because I was really wanting to go under, because it was a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah.
But they say we come out, right there at Boston Chapel, there at the bypass, and we shoot at an angle going over to tiebreaker.
And that's it.
That's it. I'm
that's
done
where it ends.
for now.
Okay.
That would finish the original phase of this park and put
Okay.
us into the tiebreaker part.
Okay. Any questions from Melissa?
I have one.
Yes,
What's
sir.
the time frame for the money if we're approved for this, for us to have to come up with it?
Normally, we have a couple of years or 18 months, but we would have some time.
But we first just like when we talked to them the other day, you might get approved and you might not.
Right.
Don't hold your breath, that's all I can tell you.
Right, 7 million versus, 1.3. So if we apply for the grant.
Anybody else? Questions?
I will say this, this is really expensive if you ask me for what we're getting. But I will also say this, and I think the mayor and Mike will agree, this is a lot better plan for a bridge than what was originally planned,
Amen.
which would have gotten a lot of people killed if you ask me, so.
Exactly.
Do we have any idea how much it's gonna cost to maintain the bridge if we were to get it? Is there any dollar figure there?
If it's anything like the bridges we already had installed on the rail trail, the maintenance cost is very low because them bridges are built specifically for outdoors. And of course, a lot of people say it's rust, but they're pre-treated. The steel is pre-treated to do that, where it's maintenance free, where you don't have to paint it and so forth. The only cost it will have probably within the first 15 to 20 years is going to be your bridge inspections. Since it goes over a state road, we had to have it inspected every 2 years as a requirement by Kentucky DOT. Or Kentucky Transportation Department, or say. But beyond that, we should have very little maintenance on it for 15 to 20 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Anybody else? Questions? Good. All right. If the committee is in favor, we need to propose a MO to forward to council.
Your motion.
All right. We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. All right, item E, chapters 160 and 33 zoning text amendment. We'll call on Mr. Tom Britton.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. Council members, I've got the last two items, so I'm going to be quick on this. You'll find in your packet a recommendation from the Historic Preservation Commission to make a couple of amendments to a couple of chapters. Chapter 160, which is the Historic and Landmarks District Ordinance, or chapter, as well as Chapter 33, which deals with the Code Enforcement Board. Presently, the Historic Preservation Commission has been in existence since the late 80s. We have two premier historic districts. We have Alumni Latham Moreland, South Virginia. We also have Mount Pleasant. This board oversees those districts and is responsible for issuing certificates of appropriateness when we have changes on our architectural characteristics. Presently, the way the ordinance is written, any violation of those requirements is a misdemeanor violation, meaning we have to go through district court. Back in 2002, this body established the Code Enforcement Board and brought about 12 different city chapters under that board from the standpoint of enforcement. Process has worked really well. Instead of going to district court misdemeanor, it becomes a civil penalty. Instead of many months in district court, most issues are resolved within a couple of months. It's a very low-cost way of resolving violations, alleged violations, or a situation where there is a dispute over a violation. So the recommendation from that commission is to amend Chapter 160 to amend the enforcement language, as well as to amend Chapter 33 to put in the civil fines provision for violations of the chapter. We also do have a municipal order which will need to be amended to establish code enforcement officers. Mr. Chairman, if anybody has any questions on that, be happy to answer it.
Anybody have any questions?
Obviously, the financial impact to the city right now, any idea?
Well, to go through the court system and spend, Mr. Willen, how long would you say if you went through district court? 8 months, 10 months, 12 months?
Always chance of an appeal.
And always a chance, that's correct. Substantial from the standpoint of attorney fees. And it's not just from the standpoint of the city, the person that is, let's say, cited, instead of having to go through that same process and incur those fees, would also save money. So it's a win-win on both sides of the equation.
Yeah,
And I will say through the Code Enforcement Board, there's due process there, and it's a well-functioning board with full due process, which I would put up to on par with district court.
Yeah.
And-
And so
and
would
in
this
Yes, sir.
require any additional staff? You mentioned code enforcement.
No, sir. We currently administer through CDS Historic Preservation Guidelines because it dovetails with the zoning requirements, so I don't see any additional staffing needed to do that.
Okay, forgive me for interrupting.
Anybody else, any other questions? All right, if the committee is in favor, the proposed MO and ordinance amending the proposed chapters needs to be forwarded to council. So we'll need a motion and a second.
Motion to forward.
Second. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. We'll go to item F, ward map amendment. Mr. Britton's going to present that as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 recommendations on potential ward map amendments, and there are a couple of reasons why we amend ward maps. We amend them every 10 years when we get new census information to make sure we have equalized population among the city's wards. The second reason why we amend the ward boundaries is when the city annexes property. And as you all know, we've had 3 annexations within the last few months. So this is a kind of a minor amendment to adjust ward boundaries to include those annexed areas. The first one you have on your screen, that is Barrow Development that was annexed back a few months ago. That's the multifamily on Lafayette Road. This would bring it into Ward 7. Next slide, please. This is the Newcomb Oil annexation, again, completed recently. This would bring that property into Ward 8. Next slide. And finally, this is the Berry property annexation, and this would bring that property into Ward 8. In all cases, the Ward 7 or Ward 8 is the only adjoining ward boundary. Mr. Chairman, if anybody has any questions, be happy to answer them.
Further questions for Tom? All right, the committee is in favor. We need an ordinance. We need to send an ordinance amending the ward maps to city council. So need a motion and a second.
What's the second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion there? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes as well. Thank you. We'll go to item 8, other. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss, bring up under other? Nope. Speak now or forever. All right, item 9, adjourn. We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.